was going to have a wheelie. I think a few riders might have gone around him. Might have been Angus McClarty from the middle of the front row, just getting ahead of Jeanette Ball down into turn 1, but we'll wait here from the tower out of turn 2. That is Angus McClarty, followed by Jeanette Ball, Tony Martin in third. So able to regroup there after having to chop the throttle at the start. Looks like Pat Patterson is in fourth, followed by Jim Marlowe in fifth. So Tony Martin right now pushing hard to stay ahead of Jim Marlowe. It's really just whoever finishes ahead of who on the track between Tony Martin and Jim Marlowe is going to give that last podium or last place in the championship. Turn 7, Angus McClarty, only a bike length ahead. Jeanette Ball looks like she wants to go side by side with Angus McClarty, but Angus letting off the brakes into turn 9, staying ahead of Jeanette Ball. Coming out of 9 now, she was thinking about an inside move there of 10, but now onto the front straightaway. Nothing separating these three riders. These riders know when they're pushing hard for the championship, they may get below the minute 22 mark. So this first lap, there is no recorded time since they're starting from a standstill. So we'll keep an eye on those lap times as well. Because if you go faster than a minute 22, you're disqualified and lose all those points. So the interesting one I'm going to keep an eye on is Tony Martin, because he's staying right behind Angus McClarty and Jeanette Ball there in third place position over the top of 5. So he may be flirting with the 122s. Jim Marlowe getting frisky out there over the top of 5, going side by side with Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson using the horsepower of that 600 to get back around Jim Marlowe. So Jim Marlowe looking like an inside move here into 9, side by side. With Jim Marlowe electing to just tuck up in behind Pat Patterson there throughout outside or coming out of 9. But now onto the front straightaway. My eyes are on these lap times. These three riders opening up about 5-6 seconds over Pat Patterson in fourth and Jim Marlowe in fifth. So right now, Jim Marlowe is hoping that Tony Martin gets below that 122 mark. Through turn 9, side by side was Jeanette Ball and Angus McClarty. Jeanette Ball holding off Angus through turn 9 onto the front straightaway. Oh, Jeanette Ball, a 121.5. Jeanette, she's going to be happy about that. It's bittersweet. These riders want to break out of this class, but what has happened now is Jeanette Ball has gone below that, so now that puts the lead on Angus McClarty. He's going to get, if he wins, if it finishes the way it is, he's getting 26 points, and that's going to put him ahead of Jeanette Ball in the championship. So now she's going to want to hope that Angus McClarty doesn't know that she has broken out and is going to try to push hard to get back into the lead. Through here in turn 9, only a bike length separates the two, so we'll see what happens here with the lap times as they got a couple of corners to go. Tony Martin's still right there as well. He may break out and give third place to Jim Marlowe. Broken out as well with a 121.8. That has given the championship back to Jeanette Ball at the moment. Tony Martin as well has broken out, so now that gives Jim Marlowe a chance at third in the championship. So right now, Pat Patterson is the current leader of this race, sitting there in fourth. Happy member of a fan club of Pat Patterson behind or underneath me here. Just a big old roll from him when he found out he was in the lead. But now that gives Jim Marlowe second and John McQuay third. The only way these riders will know if they have broken out is from their pit crew on pit wall. So these three riders have to keep an eye on Pat Patterson here and Jim Marlowe. Jim's starting to get a little bit closer here to Pat. If he knows that he's going for the race win, he may try to push a little harder here. Continuing to lower lap times. Fastest lap of the race from Jeanette Ball with a 121.4. Looks like Pat Patterson might have got some signals from people there on pit lane. So he may know now that he is racing for the win. Out of turn 2, I'll keep an eye on this battle between Jim Marlowe and Pat Patterson. Right now, about half a second up the road is Pat Patterson from Jim Marlowe. Coming out of turn 4, Pat Patterson holding on to this lead over the top of 5. Jim Marlowe getting within 2 bike lengths. Pat Patterson will be able to open up the gap here down the back straightaway. That's a 600 versus an R3, so it's going to be all down to turn 9 here. And unfortunately, the horsepower is going to be at an advantage down the front straightaway. So John McRae starting to get in here as well. So now they're coming out of turn 9. Pat Patterson with the lead. Jim Marlowe second. John McRae right there. Only about 5 bike lengths back, coming onto the front straightaway. It's going to be a drag race to the finish with Pat Patterson taking the win, followed by McGinnis in fourth. Ryan Hum in fifth. Lucas Bull crossing the line